Call the meeting of the Haywood County Board of Education to order for the October 13th, 2014 meeting. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to rise and join us in prayer. I've asked Mr. Morris to lead us in our invocation this evening, and immediately following that, I'd ask that you remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Loving and gracious Father, you are indeed the giver of all good gifts. We come together this day to seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Be with us in our deliberations and help us to be wise in the decisions we make for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in our leadership. Give us insight to lead with integrity, that our decisions may reflect what is right and good. Help us make decisions that strive to be good for all. Finally, Father, grant us humility to always seek your will in all we do and say, Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. I don't know about you, but it sounded good to have a crowd here tonight saying the Pledge of Allegiance. A lot of times we don't have this many people here, but it sounds good to have our pledge done before our meetings. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening's meeting. Our announcements are our next regular board meeting will be here November the 10th here at the Education Center at 7 o'clock. And board members, we have the North Carolina School Boards Association Annual Conference coming up in November in Greensboro. Please, if you haven't told Ms. Moody about your travel plans to attend or not, you need to let her know real quick. And administration and staff, thank you for the Halloween treats. Thank you. We won't say what's involved in that, but thank you for the goodies. And I'd also like to announce that Mr. Rogers couldn't be here tonight because he had a commitment for his employment. I think sometimes his work requirements, unfortunately, were out of town, so he wasn't able to be here tonight, but we appreciate his service on this board. Are there any other announcements that need to be made? You know me. Yes.
I need to be on the agenda.
Okay, I'll do the agenda adjustments. Okay. Thank you. Under agenda adjustments this evening, we've got two additions. Building and Grounds has an issue and that we need to discuss and make a decision on under item number 24. Between 24 and 25, we will do Building and Grounds. And we also have an agenda adjustment for a spotlight on Haywood Elementary. And we'll do that, if it's all right with everybody, between 11 and 12 before we get into the other part of the meeting. Are there any other adjustments that need to be made? Without objection, those will stand as adjustments to our agenda. I'd like to recognize now Dr. Ann Garrett. Would you meet me at the front? Or do you want me to?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it is my distinct privilege to recognize each of you tonight. On September 25th, our Board of Education attended the Regional North Carolina School Board Association meeting at Cherokee Central. Our Board of Education received the Special Achievement Award for successful completion of the 12-hour training. So if you would come down, I would be glad to recognize you.
That's everybody. Everybody.
Okay, your certificate reads, Haywood County Consolidated Schools presents this Achievement Award to for successful completion of the 12-hour training requirement of the board for the 2013-2014 academic year. I'm sorry. Mr. Chuck Francis. Vice Chair, Ms. Milner. Jim Harley Francis. Mr. Larry Henson. Mr. Stephen Kirkpatrick. Mr. Watt Leatherwood. Mr. Bob Morris. Mr. Jimmy Rogers, as you said, is absent tonight. I will give this to him later. Miss Rhonda Shandable. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I do have one additional award for tonight, if you will allow me. On October the 6th, it was the Staff Development Day for our employees. At that time, there were over 60 opportunities available for our staff. We had AM sessions and we had PM sessions. We had approximately, like I said, 60 opportunities. We had speakers, we had our local presenters, we had Vicki Holcomb, we had Dr. Jerry Miller, we had Amy Dean, Doug Van Dyne, Charlotte LaMonica, we had Doug Clemens, and we had numerous others. It was one of the best staff development days that we've ever hosted. Some of the comments from our teachers included, this was a kindergarten teacher. This is a fantastic, best workshops ever. I could not have gotten such information from a national conference. A middle school teacher said, both sessions were very informative. I gained a lot of information I can use in my classroom. And then we had a high school teacher that said, our presenter was outstanding. Everyone needs to know about global education and the impact it has on our students. At this time, I would like to tell you just a few of the content areas that we had. We had such things as 3D art for our K through 12 teachers. We had an implementation of the reading workshop for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers, micro habitats of streams, autism training, behavior intervention, CTE virtual job shadowing, come on in customer service in the school setting, differentiated instruction for grades 6 through 12, effective teaching in a 90-minute block. This was exceptional. Fabulous fractions for grades 3 through 5, first aid. We even had school law for teachers. So you can see we had lots and lots and lots of opportunities. This did not happen without a lot of work from the curriculum and instructional staff. At this time, I would like to recognize each of our curriculum and instructional staff. If you will come. It's kind of funny. I don't know, but it was good. Okay, this certificate, Haywood County Board of Education Certificate of Recognition presented to for curriculum and instructional staff for providing outstanding opportunities to the staff of Haywood County Schools through your educational leadership in planning our October the 6th, 2014 Staff Development Day. Jill Barker. Dr. Carol Douglas. Joan Ferrara. Teresa Cook. You want to take that? Alicia Glantz. Jason Hines. It's now Kim Jackson. She's on her honeymoon, so we will give this to her when she returns. Mr. Ron Moss. Mark Shepard. Brandy Stevenson. Todd Trantham. Jenny Wood. And our mastermind who created all of these opportunities, Dr. Bill Nolte. Thank you.
Next on our agenda, the board recognizes Mr. Rick Stiles.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for allowing us to come this evening, appear before you. We're here to update you on our bus inspection for last year, and I put a letter in your packets for you, for Mr. Henson, who is our inspector from Transportation Services at DPI. I visited your county February 28th to conduct your annual review of the school bus maintenance program. This review included the inspection of school bus and the analysis of some key school bus maintenance data contained in the statewide fleet maintenance program. And attached to this letter, you will find a detailed report of the findings of this review. This review is conducted as a service of DPI Transportation Services to provide you with a feedback, which includes a review of safety and operational conditions, usually the responsibility of the school bus drivers and supervisors. So the school bus drivers were included in this also. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have gotten this good inspection, as well as key maintenance items. In order to ensure the safety of the students being transported, general statutes requires all school buses to be inspected every 30 calendar days. This inspection is done by LEA transportation staff, our school bus mechanics, and is a key component of the state's preventative maintenance program. State Board of Education policy requires all school buses to be inspected, inspections to be performed by individuals that have completed the training and certification requirements. These guys must be certified to do this inspection. Please be reminded that beginning next year, 2015, renewal of school bus inspector certifications will commence. All inspectors must have 20 hours of in-service training in order to be eligible for renewal testing and recertification. The transportation director supervisor is responsible for assuring bus inspectors meet the in-service training requirement. And a file must be kept on their certification. This file was verified during my visit. The inspection results: during my review, I randomly inspected 8 school buses. We asked that he inspect at least two buses from each area that the mechanics are assigned, which represents about 10% of our school bus fleet. The inspection was done in accordance outlined by the procedures in the manual. The 2013-2014 inspection score for Haywood County is 5.63. This score is provided for you for your benefit as it means to track improvement from one year to the next. The lower the score, of course, indicates fewer defects found during this inspection. The previous year, the score was 6.12, so we did drop just a little bit, which is good. The average score for our district, Western District, was a 30.41. Also, if you turn to the next page, he did inspect an activity bus, and that score for the activity bus was a 12, which is not as good as the yellow bus, but it was a little bit dirty and it had been cleaned, so it was still good and safe. In addition to the physical inspection of the buses, I also selectively reviewed compliance with the schedules for the preventative maintenance program, the monthly school bus inspections, our inventory, and our accounting of the service on the bus. School buses are required to be inspected every 30 calendar days and the preventative maintenance to be performed on most vehicles according to intervals designated. At the time of my inspection, all maintenance and inspection orders were on time. Although my inspection was not detailed for each accounting operation, spot checks were performed to measure the level of compliance, and you can see from 1 through 14 what he did inspect. And in summary, I would like to say it was a pleasure to visit your county. The staff were very courteous and professional. The office and inventory areas meet or exceed DPI requirements, and overall your buses appear to be safe and well-maintained condition. And his recommendation was to be sure that your technicians are attending any training seminars, and we do that, and we're actually hosting one this month here at our shop for some of our surrounding counties also. So we will take care of that. And also I put the actual bus inspection report here so you can look at the defects that were found and the buses that were inspected. And last, I gave you a list of 100 counties so you can see where we ranked in those, and I feel pretty good about that. When I took this job in 2003, I asked myself, why can't we be number one in Haywood County? So I made a list of the things that I felt like would hinder us from achieving that number one, and we tried to deal with those one at a time, and I think we did. And it makes us and our guys feel very good to be number one in the state of North Carolina. Not that we're going to quit and that we're satisfied. We want the buses safe, and we don't want to win this every year because it's, you know, we don't want you to expect it every year.
But we do.
But we have won in, I think, 5 out of 6, something like that. So we're glad. We've got Lee Williams with us tonight. We appreciate you guys recognizing us.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. All of our people sign this, and maintenance builds us a frame, and we'll post it at the bus garage.
Please do.
Don't come by for a couple of years, you may get run over. Dump truck or something. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Rick, as you were doing your presentation, I kept looking down the list to see if anybody was better than us, and then you answered the question right there. Congratulations to everybody at the school bus garage.
It takes a team. It takes all of our guys.
It
It
does.
takes the principals and the bus drivers, and we've got some good principals and some good bus drivers that also help us. It takes everybody.
It
not
sure
just
does.
us.
Congratulations,
from you
and let
guys.
everybody know that the board appreciates the hard work they do.
Thank you.
Wow, that's great. Next on our agenda, we have Miss Jeannie Wood.
Chairman Francis, members of the board, Dr. Garrett and Dr. Nolte, it is once again my pleasure to recognize and publicly thank the Quick Draw Committee. This committee works endlessly to raise money for the art programs in Haywood County schools, and in some cases this is the only supply money the art teachers get. Over the past 12 years, this event has provided teachers and students with $95,952 in grant and scholarship money. I would like to recognize the committee members who are here tonight and let them tell you a little bit about Quick Draw 2015 before they present our art teachers with their grant money. We have Terry McCracken, if you want to come on up here, Lori Johnson, Sandra Hayes Highsmith, Kim Powers, and Joe Kelly. Did I get everybody? And then I'll let Terry speak for a minute, and then we'll award our grant money.
Very good.
Thank you, Jenny. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Garrett, we're excited to be here tonight. We're always excited to come back every year. We're knocking on the door of $100,000 back to Haywood County art teachers for scholarships and for students in the classroom. But we have a lot of people that we need to thank, and we need to start with you. It helped our program tremendously when Jenny was added to our committee. And we appreciate, once again, the fact that you let her come and spend time with us in meetings with us. And Karen has been a great help to do mailings and that sort of thing. And in the last couple of years, Todd and his crew has come out and set up the sound system, and it's made a huge difference. We were trying to string chords, and we found out that there's such a remarkable staff here, and they were willing to come on a Friday afternoon, and we so appreciate it. The maintenance staff has helped us for years. They bring those heavy, huge, horribly hard to carry screens up to the pavilion and set those up so the art teachers can showcase all that wonderful work that happens in Haywood County classrooms. And then the art teachers, they come and work so hard so that they can get the money back to use in their classrooms. And the students, last year we had so many comments. I wish we could have had a recording of all the people that talked about what remarkable students are in this school system. And then we have board members who help us every year. And Lynn has been on our committee for at least 3 years. She told us this year that she's going to leave us because you've given her too many jobs to do. And so we hate the fact that we're going to lose Lynn, but we hope she's going to like us so much and miss us so much that she'll come back next year. And then Bob Morris, I just want to tell you that he's been so good to support our committee with a donation every year, and we do appreciate that too. And then I want to say how much I appreciate our committee. There are 12 people who get out there and work really hard. We've had one meeting, and we really kick off in January. A long time ago, I used to be in education. And I had this really great boss, a gentleman at one point, and he'd pat us on the back and tell us to go out and do great things every day for students. And I tell you, we're going to start in January, and that's our goal, is to get out there and do great things for students. So anyway, we're excited. There's, as Jenny told you, it's $95,000 and counting. Our original intent when we started with Quick Draw was to get above and beyond a regular program. And after we were able this year to fund everything that every teacher asked for, but after looking at how much we fund in Elmer's glue and markers, we decided that this year we wanted to get back to our original intent just a little bit. So we reserved another $1,500, which will kick us up to about $98,000. And we've reserved that money for the teachers to write a program, something that they would like to do that's exemplary and above and beyond what might happen in a regular classroom. So we're going to award another $1,500 to at least one art teacher. And that means that somebody will walk away with $3,500 to make their program a little bit better this year. If you didn't go last year, you missed a great event. We were totally sold out the day of the event. People were calling from all over the place trying to get tickets. If you were lucky enough to have a ticket, you had the hottest ticket in town. And this year, our Quick Draw event will be at Laurel Ridge Country Club, and it will be on May the 16th, so I hope you'll write that on your calendar. We appreciate you buying a ticket. We love it when you come and buy a piece of art. We like it when you sit there and clap and do all those things and get the bid to go up a little bit. Just, you know, you don't have to buy, just help somebody else push it on up. If you want to make a contribution, we are ready to take your money. I'm sure Jenny would love to have that. And then we're going to sell, we're selling belt tickets, and that's just free money that comes back to us through Quick Draw. So if you need to purchase anything at Belk's on those days, be sure and buy a ticket there too. We're getting money from every source that we can possibly find. And I'd like to just have the committee come up. I'd like you to see at least 4 of our people. There's a great group that works every year, and we so thank you for what you do to help us make this work. Thanks.
Thank you.
At Bethel Elementary and Jonathan Valley, we have Caroline Ottinger. Did that matter? You just did. Congratulations. Waynesville Middle School, Tara O'Laughlin. Thank you. Tuscola High School, Stephanie Key, and I don't think she's here tonight. At Hazelwood, Riverbend, and Junaluska. It takes me a minute because the elementary art teachers have 2 and 3 schools. Julie Buchanan. Thank you. Congratulations. Pisgah High School, Carolyn DeGrove.
We should have been. I'll get my big round.
Bethel Middle School, Kirksey Lowther. At Clyde, Riverbend, and Central, Nicole Wilhelm. Canton Middle School, Kara Faust. And North Canton and Meadowbrook, Carrie Hooper. And I will add that 4 of these ladies are brand new. So we have 4 seasoned, I guess you would say, I don't know, and 4 brand new teachers. So that's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Ms. Wood, I'd just like to say thank you for your work, but especially we would like to thank the Quick Draw Committee for the kind and hard work that they've done and generous donations that we've been able to give our art teachers. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Terry. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have Ms. Joan Ferrara.
Good evening, Chairman Francis, board members, Dr. Guerra, and Dr. Nolte. It's my honor today to kind of give you some updates of what's happening in Exceptional Children's Program. I'm going to start with our Teacher of Excellence. Each year, our Exceptional Children's Program is able to select one person out of 82 certified staff to represent Haywood County Schools at the Fall Conference in Greensboro. And this year, Allison Baumgartner, who's a speech-language pathologist at Jonathan Valley and also does some private school and some preschool stuff, was selected by her peers to represent us. And I just want to share, I got about 20 letters of nomination on Allison. I've never had such an outpouring of love and appreciation, but I want to hit a couple of the highlights. Allison deserves this phenomenal honor for so many reasons. She's extremely dedicated, dependable, knowledgeable, compassionate, resourceful, enthusiastic, and works very hard to improve student learning and success for students with disabilities and speech-language challenges. Allison stands heads and shoulders over most, not only in her unbelievable ingenuity, intelligence, and creativity, but also in her impressive ability to serve as a productive team member. And then her principal wrote, Allison is a principal's dream employee, right, Heather? She's hardworking, knowledgeable, a team player, compassionate, honest, loyal, trustworthy, and organized. She's loved and respected by staff, students, and parents. And over 4 years at Jonathan Valley Elementary School, the principal said, I have never, not once, heard anyone say anything negative about Ms. Baumgartner. Allison is truly deserving of this award. So Allison, if you'll come up, please. Her certificate says, as the Haywood County Board of Education acknowledges Allison Baumgartner as a Haywood County Schools Exceptional Children's Program Teacher of Excellence for the 14-15 school year. Allison's leadership, dedication, and service are outstanding and have significantly improved the educational outcomes for our exceptional children and youth. Nobody deserves this honor more than Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And now I want to share with you some information about our graduation rate. You know, over the years, the rigor has increased, the standards have increased, the number of tests have increased, and when we started working on our graduation rate, it was really sad and it was below average for the state. We were at 46.8 of our kids with disabilities graduating in 4 years, and this past year, 13-14, we were up to 78.3%, which represents, you know, a 31% improvement in our graduation rate in 7 years. And I want to specifically acknowledge Pisgah High School. Pisgah High School this year had a 92.9% graduation rate for students with disabilities. That was second only to their AIG and their Hispanic population. They had 26 students start 9th grade in 2010-11. they had 28 students start ninth grade, and 26 of those 28 graduated in 4 years. The other 2 will graduate this year, but that's phenomenal. And I just wanted to, publicly recognize our high schools, especially Pisgah High School. So we are at 78.3. The graduation rate for all students is at 82.5. The other thing, I want to compare apples to apples. In the next slide, you'll see that the state average graduation rate for students with disabilities is 64.4. And Haywood County is 14%, almost above that, so 14.9%. So I wanted to point that out. And then for the reverse of graduation is dropout. And when we started tracking this really closely, we had 42 children drop out of high school that had IEPs in 1 year. And this past year that we have data for, 12-13, we don't have 13-14 yet, we had 6. So we reduced the dropout to 1/7 of what it was when we started. So, and a lot of that goes to the high schools, and Central Haywood High School is an alternative school, but a big portion of that goes to Kyle Ledford and his staff, because a kid drops out of school, they track them down. They tell them, we want to educate you. We want to connect with you. We'll work around your schedule, the obstacles that you're dealing with. So I want to publicly thank Kyle for helping us, reduce our dropout. And then the last thing I want to share with you tonight, I know you've got a packed agenda, is we get a report card from the state every year. And for 12-13, the highest you can make in any category is 4 points. I just wanted to share with the board that Haywood County Schools Exceptional Children's Program got a perfect score. So thank you very much.
Ms. Ferrara, thank you so much for the update about our Exceptional Children's Program, and great strides. Thank you very much for all your hard work. And again, congratulations to Ms. Allison Baumgartner for your outstanding achievement. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have Ms. Jill Barker and Ron Moss. They look like they're ready to go.
This is my first time up here, so I didn't know. Congratulations. That's great data there, Joan. Hadn't heard that. Chairman Francis, members of the board, Dr. Garrett and Dr. Nolte, just want to explain to you a little bit about a contest that we decided to offer, Mr. Moss and I, because I was really missing the kids. It was like 2 weeks into the job, and I thought, I need to see some kids. I want to talk to some kids. And we started talking about all the cool books they used to come and tell us that they'd read over the summer. And so we sponsored a little contest. We called it Tweet All About It, with Twitter being such a big rage right now, and I know most of those kids don't have Twitter, but they know what it is. And so we put hashtag best book of the summer. Now with Twitter, you only have 140 characters to say something. So what you say has to be very, very powerful. So we thought that would be a good idea. They're used to writing really long things and explaining, and we thought if they could just condense it, we'll see who can really make us read a book. So when we sent the information out to principals, we said, calling all Haywood County 3rd through 5th graders, we want to hear about the best book you read this summer. You have 140 characters to persuade us to read your favorite book of the summer. We are looking for tweets that are creative, super interesting, and make us want to read your book. So we decided I would read the 3rd grade book, and whoever the winner is, Mr. Moss would read the 4th grade book, and Dr. Nolte got to read the 5th grade book. So he thought that was there. I don't know how that happened, but anyway.
Stretch, right?
So, and it turned out really good for Dr. Nolte, so he'll tell you about that in a minute. It worked. And worse for Mom. No, it was good. So I want to tell you, each one of these students is going to win a $25 gift card to Barnes & Noble. And I just want to say we love kids reading. It is my passion. It is Mr. Moss, Dr. Nolte. We believe in that with all our hearts, and we just want to honor you. And I just want to say keep reading. It'll change your life. And I'm so proud of you. So at this time, I'm going to honor the 3rd grade winner. And I think this is her tweet so you could see it. And I'm going to read it for you. Her book was called Warriors Into the Wild, and her name is Mina Tanner. You want to come on up, Mina? I'm so glad to finally meet you. Hey, Mina, how are you? Come on up. Here's Dr.
Congratulations. We're so proud.
Okay, so Mina's tweet says, have you ever lost a cat? And I had lost a cat, so that got me right from the beginning. Maybe it went to live with wildcats. Join Rusty on an adventure beyond any cat's dreams into the wild woods. Well, believe me, this is a wild book. So, Warriors Into the Wild, did you know, like, your house cat might be bored and want to go live with feral cats? That's right. What your favorite part of the book is? Okay.
My favorite part of the book was when the cat Rusty went into the wild and found his best friend Graypaw that he didn't know yet, but Graypaw lived with the wildcats, and Graypaw told him that he should join the wildcats. So then Rusty joined the wildcats, and yeah.
And it pretty much went on from there. So it was now it's fantasy, so if you like fantasy's not my favorite, but I enjoyed that, Mina, so I'm glad you got me to read that. You convinced me. So let me give you a certificate, and it says, tweet all about it, best book of the summer winner, Mina Tanner, 3rd grade winner, Haywood Elementary School, and here's your $25 gift card to Barnes & Noble. Congratulations.
And I am here to honor a 4th grade student, Landon Horde, and I have to say I was very impressed. Landon, come on up. It's really nice to meet you. I have to say I was very impressed with the book he read, because I'm going to be honest, 41 years ago I was in 9th grade and I read the book, The Hobbit. And, in reading the tweets, his really, having read the book, really grabbed my attention. He did a great job. You must read The Hobbit. If you like fantasy, this is the right book for you. Dwarves, elves, hobbits, goblin, and a dragon. And I am a fantasy reader. I like fantasy and mystery, so that really piqued my interest. And I'm just going to tell you, it's a pretty heavy book. It's a level Z. It's written on an 8th grade level, and this young man is in 4th grade, and it's obvious he read the book. So, but anyway, would you like to tell what your favorite part of the book was?
My favorite part of the book is at the beginning where the Hobbit's in his house, and he keeps dwarves just arriving at his house, and they're like eating his food that he's fixing for himself.
That's great. And Landon, here's your certificate, and here is your card with a $25 Barnes & Noble gift card inside. Congratulations. We're proud of you.
If we could get Kendall Warren to come on up, please. The beauty of this contest, and I'm the curriculum guy. We don't always talk about curriculum. We're talking about budgets and buses and all those other kinds of things. Come over here and stand by these important people. Is that a true sign of a higher level of intelligence is not to be able to call words or read, but to convey a lot of meaning in a very brief amount of space. And if you've ever written anything and tried to condense it, tried to make it fit into a small space, one of the hardest things I've worked on personally in writing press releases and columns is to say a whole lot with just a few words. And so we're not judging the book. We're judging the capacity to express a lot of deep meaning and interest in a short amount of time. So Kendall's, and I don't have my glasses on and probably can't read it real well, so you may have to help me, but Kendall's tweet was nasty, weird, gross, and interesting facts that, is that make? Thank you. Make you wonder. Great series if you love NF. That's nonfiction. The other thing that really excited me about that is we improve test scores with fiction, but we really improve test scores when we're reading in nonfiction areas, and want an amazing book. Did you know your feet, have 500,000 sweat glands. So that just hooked me. I'm a little bit of a factual nerd. So I read the book. It was not nearly as long as The Hobbit, which I had read also a long time ago, certainly not in 5th grade or 4th grade. Some of the stuff in here was stuff we already know, like the Wright brothers did bicycles before they did airplanes. We would know that in North Carolina. But I thought a couple of these were interesting. Play-Doh was originally used to remove stains from walls. So if you're a parent, you've got some Play-Doh that's been laying around, and you don't know what to do with it, and it's too hard to use, might be able to get stuff off the walls with it. The other thing I thought was really interesting was that Chinese checkers were actually invented in Germany. And with a last name like Nolte, I felt sort of good about that. So anyway, Kendall, congratulations. Here is your certificate. And we are very, very proud of the way you expressed that meaning in a very brief amount of time. And here is your gift card to Barnes & Noble. And there's not really a story in your book, but is there anything that you want to say about it? You don't have to. No. Thank you very much. Now, she conveyed a lot of meaning in very few words. Like that. It was great. Thank you.
And I just want to add real quick that we have community members who also know the importance of reading. So Dr. Doris Hammett has made a donation to the Haywood County Schools Foundation in Mina, Landon, and Kendall's honor. So if you'll come up here and get your little recognitions from Dr. Doris Hammett.
Jill.
No, I'm not getting in the picture. Just, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations to all our winners tonight, and thank you for participating in the contest. That was excellent. I'd like to sit and read some of those tweets. I bet they were interesting. Now the board next on the agenda is Dr. Carol Douglas.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Garrett and Dr. Nolte, it's my pleasure to recognize winners of our STEM E mini grants, and I'll explain what that is while they come on up, if our winners will come on up. We have a grant through the Cherokee Preservation Foundation called the STEM E grant, and that's for science, technology, engineering, math, and entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is a big part of that. The grant was written, I think, maybe 3 years ago by Ron Moss, and I just, when I came on board, got to reap the benefits of it, and because it was a K-12 grant. And so for one of the things that we did with our part of the money, we got, I think as a county, $38,000. We awarded some competitive mini grants to our teachers, and they applied, and we had a committee and selected them, and we awarded 3 grants. And I'm going to recognize them and let them tell you a little bit about what they did with their grant money. The first one from Bethel Middle School is Sean Sampson and Anita Clark. That's a math and science teacher, and they did theirs jointly. So I'm going to let them tell you what they did.
We decided to do our grant based on a book, and it's called Hitch. Amazing book that all the students, we actually had all the students read before we began, and it's about soil conservation. And so what we decided to do was we wanted to identify a farm in the local community to go out and test their soil. And Danny Barrett over at 10 Acre Gardens agreed to do this. And so we ended up purchasing, and I can bring it up. You want to shut it down? Sure. We purchased some LabQuest, and it's a data collector. And so what this does is what I've got hooked up right now is it's a temperature probe, and it has GPS setting that's on it. But that's not, we did temperature testing, and we actually just was out there this past Friday. Dr. Douglas came out, and she actually saw us doing it as well. We did temperature testing, we did salinity testing, and we were doing pH testing. And then we also took back to the school, we brought back soil samples all around his garden, and we are going to do some chemical testing for potassium, nitrates, and phosphate. And so when doing this grant, we want to continue doing this for years to come. That was our whole goal, our whole purpose, is that we want to be able to teach our kids the importance of soil. And one amazing thing that already came from this, and this was before we even went out on the field, one of our students in class said, you know, there may be something going on over there at that corn maze. Of course, we were wondering, well, what are you talking about? He said, well, some of the corn stalks are really short. I bet you there's something going on out there. And so that got all the kids talking about it. So even before we actually did something, they were already starting to think, going outside of the box. So we're very, very excited about continuing this program. And what we did on Friday was just one portion of what we're going to do. What we want to be able to do is take all the information that we get and give it back to Mr. Barrett. Let him know what's going on, if there's any issues, and if there are, we're also going to contact Haywood Soil and Water Conservation, and then help them, have them help us identify what he needs, and from there, have the kids actually begin to write. Not have them actually write the grant, but begin to write grants that will help them. So, and that's where we're tying in the science, technology, engineering, math, and then the entrepreneurship. So we're very excited about continuing this program. And when I was interviewed by the reporter from the Mountaineer on Friday, she said, can you kind of explain a little bit what's going on with this? And I said, well, I guess the easiest way to kind of explain it is kind of like how the Kids in the Creek program is. And she said, well, why not just call it Kids in the Dirt then? So never know. That's what our program may be called, is Kids in the Dirt. So yeah, I know it's soil, but but we're very excited about this.
And they have all already received their money and their equipment, because we had to spend the money before the grant was over, so they're already working on it, but we wanted to recognize them. Next, we have from Tuscola High School, Jim Davis, and he'll tell you about what he received.
Well, they were working out in the dirt and outside. I'm working in the chemistry lab. I teach chemistry, and I try to. But it was really funny because last year, near the end of the year, I lost one of my colleagues, Steve Atwood, retired. And when he was retiring, he was putting all his stuff back in my room, and he dropped an item that we split water with. We did electrolysis with. Well, so one of my goals over the summer was to get a new electrolysis unit. Well, I found this mini micro unit that the kids could do the same thing we were doing in front of the class. So now what we have, every group of kids in our class can do the same thing we were doing in front of class. So we're splitting water. Have not done the experiment yet. My advanced class are going to test the equipment out this week. So we're splitting water.
And then we have from Waynesville Middle School, Linda Estes, and she'll tell you about what she did.
My grant focused more on the entrepreneurship, members of the board. I teach special ed at Waynesville Middle School, and we had an idea last year to give our students more work experiences. So the idea was born last year. We run a coffee shop at school. We teach the kids how to dress for work, how to conduct themselves for work, how to communicate with others, how to count money, how to market the business, and we use the money to support some of the materials that we needed. Thank you.
Thank you all. They're doing great things with that. And that's just a little bit of what we did with this money. Like I said, we had $38,000, and a lot of it was spent on professional development. On the staff development day we had on October 6th, we were able to do math using the iPad. And one lucky teacher won 16 iPads for a classroom set for her class to use to teach math. Another thing, we had Lego robotics and had training on that, and each school got a site license and Lego robotics kits. So we're moving in that direction. And then Ron and I went to a meeting today and just found out that they have reapplied for the grant, and now we have $20,000 from the next phase of the grant for professional development and equipment. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Next on our agenda, we would like to recognize Ms. Susan Savage and Nicole Revis.
Chairman Francis, members of the board, Dr. Garrett and Dr. Nolte, Nicole Revis, my assistant principal, and I would like to thank you for your support of Haywood County Schools, our staff members, and especially our students. You spend many hours each month with school-related activities, and we know you can't always visit our schools, so we wanted to bring a little bit of Hazelwood Elementary to you tonight. We hope from this short video that you will see how much we love our students and how hard our staff is working to help each one of them reach their infinite potential.
And we also wanted to let you know, if you happen to be out and about on Thursday and have a little free time, we are hosting a parent night kind of featuring our Leader in Me program that begins at 6 o'clock at our school. We would love for you to drop by. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Savage and Ms. Revis, for the video. I know it took some time to put together. I was just talking about the nice quality of it and everything, and thank you very much for sharing it with us tonight. Next on our agenda, we have Dr. Ann Garrett.
Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to give you an update on the superintendent's goals and performance indicators for the year 2013-2014. Remember, in education, we're always a year behind. The first priority is our goal is to have quality teachers, administrators, and staff. You'll see the performance objective is to recruit and retain highly qualified teachers. We know we have several areas that we have that we really have to recruit hard. Those are math, science, and exceptional children. Some of the strategies include to continue to develop a mentoring program for new administrators and teachers. We also have a shortage of administrators at this time as well. Our measures will include teacher, administrator, and mentor logs. Our outcome, we have 38 BT1 teachers. Those mentors receive $100 per month. We have 44 BT2 teachers, and they receive $50 a month, the mentor does. BT3, we have 38, and then we had 4 new administrators. Not necessarily new to be an administrator, but perhaps changing from elementary to middle to high, that type of situation. Another strategy was to provide staff development with training and implement Common Core and essential standards. We have done that. We've provided the 40 hours. Another was to ensure that every school is a professional learning community. We've had dialogue with schools to assess PLCs and data analysis. The outcome was school improvement plans, staff development, group alikes, and then also we discuss it at our roundtables. Our fourth strategy is to recognize employees for achievement, accomplishment of goals. As you can see, tonight was a very good example of that. Others include National Board, Advanced Degrees, Teachers of the Month, Teachers of the Year, and Principal of the Year as well. Priority 2 is high student performance. The performance objective is to provide a 21st century education for all students. The strategy is to continue to increase students performing at or above grade level. Dr. Nolte tonight is going to give you a very thorough analysis on the information that we have available at this time. Measures include to analyze student assessment data and to develop interventions. And you can see the outcome. For North Carolina, we had 56.3% performance was composite. For Haywood County Schools, we had 64.5. For those with academic growth, this is North Carolina as opposed to Haywood County. Academic growth met or exceeds, the state had 74.61, we had 81.25. 13 out of 16 of our schools did this. Also, if you were ranking us, we would be 15 out of 115 LEAs. Continue to improve the ACT. Carol Douglas did a really good job of presenting that to you last week. I'd like to maybe just hit on one or two of those. If you look at Haywood County, the ACT average scores, you'll see that every high school improved in the composite, the English, the reading, the math, and also the science. So we were most pleased with that. You'll also see that early college had tremendous growth in English, also in the area of science. And in Central Haywood High School, they had a lot of growth in their reading, but every single school improved. What are we doing to continue this growth, according to Dr. Douglas? We're analyzing scores with principals, administrators, lead teachers, and teachers. We're conducting external reviews to discuss the data. We're also having a dialogue with the elementary and middle school because, as you know, it takes all of us. We also ranked 17 out of 115 LEAs. We were 4th as far as our school region compared to the other 18 LEAs. Last year we were 41 out of 115, so you can see what growth we have had. Continue to update and expand technology. One of the measures was each school will have a mini lab, pilot one-on-one if funds become available. I know several of you went to Rutherford County several years ago and we actually saw the one-on-one. I've met with Todd numerous times. The startup for that is just tremendous. For Haywood County, it would be $1.14 million just as a startup. And then to sustaining it would be that much, if not more, per year. But you can see in Haywood County, we have 38 desktop labs. We have 33 labs on carts. We have 35 in-classroom mini labs. We have 5 to 10 per classroom, small sets. We have 86 classrooms with those. The numbers that we have as far as their techs that work on them is 4,860. If you take that plus 472 Chromebooks, we have available to our students 5,332. And then it's broken down per school. Again, we'd love to be able to do the one-on-one, but that takes a tremendous amount of funding that we do not have available at this time. Increase the graduation rate. Graduation rate will increase by 1% by June of 2014. I'm very proud to present to you. In 2007, the graduation rate was 75%. 2008, it was 75.7. 2009, we dipped to 71.9. 2010, it was 76.7. 2011, 79.3. 2012, it was the same at 79.3. This year, it's 83. So thank you to all of those who worked so hard to make that possible. And then the final goal for Priority 3 was healthy students in safe, orderly, and caring schools. The objective was to continue to develop a comprehensive school health program for pre-K through grade 13, work closely with pertinent community agencies to comply with local, state, and federal regulations. And the outcome was Mark Shepard is our Safe Schools Director. He's done a tremendous job on providing staff development and also opportunities for our teachers and staff this year. We have a Safe School Advisory Meeting, which I think is November 6th. We have a law enforcement meeting. We meet on a regular basis with them. We've had safety training. We had one on a Saturday in August, which was very effective. Also, we have a good rapport with our health department. Enhanced security and safety on every campus. You can see we maintain the site facilities and equipment to provide an environment that is healthy and safe. Tracy Hargrove does a tremendous job of checking our schools on a regular basis. Our principals do a good job of doing our walkthroughs. We also work closely with the sheriff and police officers to monitor our schools for safety. We provide administrators in central office with in-staff and staff development. Surveillance systems have been installed. And then each school, even though it's not a requirement, we're still asking that they do 3 lockdowns per year. And then at the next board meeting Mr. Shepherd will actually have you approve those safe school plans. Any questions?
Any questions, board members? Excellent job.
Okay. Now for the goals for 2014-15, and I'll be very brief with these. Again, these are the things that I will be focusing on for this upcoming year. The first goal will be quality teachers, administrators, and staff. Again, we want to recruit and retain highly qualified teachers and also administrators at this time because, like I said before, we do have a shortage of those. Strategies, we will continue to develop a mentoring program for BT1, BT2, BT3, and administrators. We'll provide staff development in pertinent areas as designated. We'll continue to recognize employees for achievement and also for accomplishments and provide a leadership academy for future administrators. That will be offered at the RESA this year instead of through Haywood County Schools. Measurements will include mentor logs, My Learning Plan, in which we register for our staff development through that, board meeting minutes, and Leadership Academy agenda. I think Jason said we had 8 people enrolled in that program. High student performance, we're a very good school system, but we want to become even greater. And I think once Dr. Nolte shares those results with you, we're not perfect yet, but we hope to be there soon. We want to continue to increase student performance at or above grade level, continue to improve ACT, and increase the graduation rate even further. Our measures will include analyzing released student assessment data, emphasizing ACT strategies and best practices in K through 11, and then increase the graduation rate by 0.5%. Priority 3 will be healthy students in safe, orderly, and caring schools. Continue to develop a comprehensive school health program for pre-K through 13 and enhance security and safety on every campus. And then you can see the strategies. Do you have any questions?
A lot of work ahead. Anyone have any questions for Dr. Garrett?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garrett. Next on our agenda, we have Dr. Carol Douglas.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Garrett, Dr. Nolte, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Greg Bailey and his assistant principal, Lori Fox, and she's from Pisgah High School, and from Tuscola High School, Carol Fox. We have the Fox ladies tonight. And they're going to give us an update on the Smart Lunch program, which I think many of you may have seen the other day when you were at Pisgah for the ROTC program, and some of you may be familiar with it from Tuscola. We had a brief overview last spring, but we hadn't implemented anything yet. So they're going to tell you about it and how it works. And we're excited about it. And you should have 2 handouts that you see.
I guess if they're the foxes, that'd be the hound, I guess, right? If the shoe fits, wear it, I guess. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Garrett, Dr. Nolte, appreciate the opportunity to be asked and to come and share a little bit about this exciting initiative that we've got going at our high schools right now that we really believe in. We'll be talking about, as Dr. Douglas mentioned, the Smart Lunch, standing for students maximizing achievement, resources, and time. This was really birthed out of a need that we've heard for years about our teachers not having access to our kids except for before school and after school, and we just couldn't get the kids that we needed during those times. So we've been kind of trying to study and come up with an idea of how to get those kids during the school day while we have them be able to not only to remediate but also to enrich some of those classes by giving those opportunities for even AIG students to succeed. And also coupling with that access for teachers to students and students to teachers would be the need for our teachers, especially in a high school setting, to have time to get together for PLCs, for their professional learning communities, whereas in the middle school it is basically tailor-made for that. Common planning periods and such in middle schools really facilitate that. In a high school, being departmentalized as it is very difficult to offer the sections that you need to offer and be able to find that time for those teachers to be able to collaborate and to grow and to segregate data amongst their team. So it's really a great tool for that as well. I would like to thank some people that's really made this happen as I thought about it driving over tonight. Of course, my administrative team has been crucial. We have a teacher leader by the name of Stephanie Morgan, who has played an upfront role on this. She is, we've kind of given her the reins of this thing to start with. She did some school visits and really put some good nuts and bolts for this program in place. So I'd like to mention her tonight. Dr. Garrett and Dr. Nolte and Dr. Douglas have been very supportive. Tracy Hargrove as well. Don't worry, Tracy. I know you weren't paying attention to me. I saw the way you looked up. But I'm just thanking you, buddy, for his assistance, along with Todd Trantham, in getting us some wireless connectivity in some crucial areas that we needed to have to allow this to happen. A lot of things goes to work behind the scenes that you would never imagine. Just setting a cash register up to be able to sell food in a different location in your school. Involving a lot of folks to make it happen. So I'd like to publicly thank each of you for assisting. Allison Francis has been very helpful as well with our food service program, and our cafeteria manager, Shirley Presley, with being flexible and helping us get this in place. We started this planning in early spring of last year, so we've been at it a good while. I mentioned school visits. Also, a lot of research had gone into this with other schools that have this in place. Basically taking the best of everything that we could get our hands on and modifying it to fit the needs of our students, our teachers, and our logistic limitations that come into play when every campus is different, of course. And it did take some getting out of some comfort zones, especially for me, because it's a different way, it's a different mindset, and a different way of doing business when it comes to structure. In a high school of over 1,000 students, you like structure. And when, well, I don't have a lot of hair to let down, so that's probably a bad analogy to bring up, but I had to loosen my tie up a little bit when I have to let these kids have more freedom to make choices, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. If Rusty the cat had have stayed in the house instead of venturing out, look what he would have missed out on, right? Couldn't help but think of that. We've been able to offer, just to mention a few things, tutoring, test preparation, homework, enrichment opportunities, freshman seminars to try to get these kids. We have our freshmen, and these ladies will speak to that in just a second. Once a week, we have them come to a seminar to help them with study habits to be successful. If we can stop these freshmen from getting behind early, then that's a key to success, or one of the keys. ACT prep, college prep, and work keys that we'll be we've just talking about today, how we're going to work some work key strategies into this framework in the coming months, and clubs and intramurals will be a part of it as well. So I will step out of the way now, and I used to have both of these ladies at Pisgah, but hey, it's about helping your folks get to where they need to be. So I'll take you back anytime you want to come back to. But I'll turn it over to them right now, and they'll share the nuts and bolts with you. Thank you again for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Lori and I actually, before I left Pisgah and went to Tuscola, at the beginning of the year last year, met with a bunch of teachers. And we were like, man, we need to find a way to put some time in the school day, because that's what we kept hearing from teachers, from parents, from students. We need time during the day. I can't come before, I can't stay after. And we're asking kids to do tons of things after school. We want them to be involved in our extracurricular activities. And we were like, how are we going to do this? And it just so happened as we were visiting schools to look at block schedules from Tuscola's side of it, we came across the Smart Lunch. And every time they would come back from a visit, or we'd go to a visit, we kept hearing about this concept. And so we're going to kind of tag team you tonight because it's a little redundant if I say it and then she says it, because it's very much the same thing. And we have actually worked together quite a bit over the summer, hashing out ideas about how to make Smart Lunch work. It is about providing remediation, but for our students, we basically have tried to set the standard that D's and F's aren't acceptable in our eyes. We have too many students that's kind of where they sit, and then we get them to the end of the year and we want them to perform well on their test or the end of the semester, and they've not really done anything all year. And so we are trying to prevent that from happening. The other side of that was also trying to make sure that students who were doing what they were supposed to be doing, students who were making good choices, that we could look at them and say, we want to provide something for you to where maybe it's an enrichment activity. Maybe you go talk with guidance and get some information about scholarships. Maybe you just need a little bit of time during the day that you'd like to have a study hall, because that's what we kept hearing from some of our upper level kids. I just like to have a little bit of time during the day to study. And then we have some kids that said, hey, we'd like to be able to just have just a few minutes of free time. One of the things I'm really excited about, if you've read much on brain research, it talks a lot about the exercise component. And when you get to high school, you have to take one health and PE class. Some kids opt to take more. A lot of kids don't. They can't fit it in their schedules. By being able to provide intramurals, we've got some great cornhole activities going on. So if anybody likes to play cornhole, come on up and play. But I see some kids getting out and they're getting some exercise. They're up, they're moving around, and it kind of takes that lag off that happens when you come back from lunch oftentimes, when you sit down and you just kind of want to fall over. So we're seeing a lot of that from our end of it, of kids just being active. The schedules you have before you are different really only in the fact that currently Tuscola is still on a 7-period day and they're on the 4x4. So our schedule can't match theirs in terms of time. We could not take as much instructional time as was needed to have a same type of schedule. But you have an explanation. One component Tuscola put in that Pisgah kind of already had, but I think they've implemented a few more strategies into it, was a better homeroom and making it more about building relationships. Because everywhere we go, every staff development we go to, the topic is you got to build the relationship first. I think there's an old saying, kids don't care what you know unless they know you care. And so that's what we're trying to do with our students as well. Have them have one individual that they know on that campus is keeping up with their grades, is keeping up with their participation in the activities that they should be in, and is checking up on them every week. So every Monday that homeroom teacher checks those grades for the students in their homeroom, and then they help them determine what they need to do for the week. And so there are tutorials provided each week. Like I said, our schedule's a little different. We had to limit ours to 4 days, but every subject has at least 2 opportunities. I think that's the same for Pisgah. And those students then are assigned. If you're failing, if you are making, well, you don't even have to be failing. If you're making a D or an F, it's not optional. I think one of the board members may have been at Pisgah last week and asked a student, what do you think about the Smart Lunch? And the student said, I don't like it. Why don't you like it? I have to go to tutorials. That's the attitude we want from that student. But we are getting a lot of positive feedback from our other students about, I've got time to see my teacher. I've got time to, we've got students going and collaborating. They're setting up study groups in the library. If they can work on projects, they can work on clubs. We're getting participation, maybe more participation in clubs than we've had in many years, simply because we can do it during the day, and it's not, kids aren't limited by the fact they've got to get on a bus at 3 o'clock or 3:05 and head home.
Or participate in athletics.
Yes. So lots of those things where, kids had conflicts. And I know life's all about choices, but some choices, if you can help them not have to make those and allow them to participate in more, we're getting other positive choices to be made. So our teachers still have duty time, but it's a very positive fact that we're now allowing. I remember when Mr. Bailey came to Pisgah, and he came from the middle school, and we would get ready to do something, and he would say, "We need to get them during that team time, and we need to have a meeting with them." And I kept saying, "We don't have team time." And so, you know, it's really hard to work it into the schedule. And this has allowed us to have a time for our teachers to be able to meet, to work on and look at their test data, look at their strategies, do some common planning and common assessments, figuring out how do we move forward. We have room to improve. We have a lot of room to improve. And this is one opportunity that gives our teachers to be able to sit down and talk about how can we move these kids forward. So the packet hopefully will answer some of your questions. Want to add anything?
I'll just talk about how we're a little different since we're on a 4-period day. Our kids are required to go to 3 per class per 6 weeks. It's not an option. Our whole student body goes to 3 per class per 6 weeks. Our upperclassmen, D or below, just like Tuscola, will attend tutorials. And then we hold our freshmen to a higher standard. If they're C or below at Pisgah, they attend. And we just want to mold them and make them and teach them that failure is not an option as a 9th grader, because that year is so crucial. And I would also like to thank our guidance department, who is preparing for ACT prep every week. They have a chance to attend that. They have a chance to attend college prep, where we offer them chances to fill out scholarships and meet with college reps. And then our freshmen are required to attend freshman seminar, like Mr. Bailey mentioned, where they learn to transition to high school, and how many credits do I need, and how do I calculate my GPA, and those important things to kind of get their foot in the door at Pisgah and get used to high school life.
The framework, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, is let's say I'm an English teacher. And at Pisgah, we've got the five days, and the block of time, we've actually extended our school day a little bit at Pisgah. Start 5 minutes earlier and go 5 minutes longer to give us a little more flexibility and time to try to carve this out in the day. And an English teacher, for example, during that hour or a little more in the Smart Lunch day, would have, say, a tutorial A on a Monday, the first half of that block of time. Then, of course, they would have their lunch the second half. The next day, their team would be on supervision duty. All right, so they would supervise and eat during that time as well on that one. Then the next day, they would have a PLC time scheduled in, say, on Wednesday. So that would be a block on Wednesdays that they could be together as a team and be able to work on those things that we mentioned. Then Thursday, they may have their tutorial B. So they would have a half an hour of a tutorial session, the second part, whereas they had in the first part earlier in the week, 2 opportunities for their kids to be able to see them. And then the 5th day of the week for the English department would be extra planning. So for the extra supervision you're doing, for the team meetings you're doing, they have 1 open day a week to be able to plan, to be able to grade, to be able to basically use as they choose.
And many of our teachers don't use their open day to do that. They use their open day for their kids to come see them. So some of them are offering 3. Actually, a large majority are offering 3 tutorials a week that kids can come.
Do you have any questions that we can help you with in terms of understanding it a little bit better? If you come on campus during lunchtime, it's going to look like chaos to you. But we do know what's going on. And that was probably the hardest part for Mr. Bailey and Mr. Collins and even some of our teachers. And it was really hard for some of our kids when we first started because they weren't used to that freedom. And I even had a kid say, I don't like this. And I said, why not? And she said, I don't know what to do. And so we just had to go, you know. But if we can answer any questions, we'll be glad to. We'd love to have you come during Smart Lunch time and visit with us and see what we're doing. And go into some of our classrooms if you're interested.
Thank you very much for the information. Anybody have questions?
Well, first of all, Mr. Bailey, I think the students and the parents would revolt if Miss Fox decided to come back. We've taken a real serious liking to her at Tuscola High School, and her no, she doesn't. But as as a parent of one of those students who's getting the benefit from this smart lunch, I want to say thanks. Because again, I will tell you, the first couple of days that this was enacted, they were lost. But it's amazing how resilient our kids are. I mean, they at night are saying, they know where they're going to be tomorrow during their smart lunch already. They know what chemistry class, what math class. And it's like, to my daughter, I asked her, I said, well, just tell me what you read. She said, Dad, it takes a lot of pressure off of you of having to try to be there in the morning or in the afternoon. Cause if you play sports, it's almost virtually impossible, or if you do an extra activity, to get that extra help. Even though our teachers are still showing up at 7 o'clock in the morning up there, still willing to help and still willing to meet those who can't or need extra help. But again, I want to just thank this concept, because I know it was out there, but we enacted, and I know, Mr. Bailey, for somebody like you, it's very structured. It does look chaotic, but also for the kids and their attitude towards it. I mean, it's amazing. I think if you try to take it away now, it probably just, they love it. I mean, and it's a benefit to all of our kids. So again, I appreciate you all for taking that effort and doing that, because I mean, it's a big undertaking. I mean, so.
And we intend to improve it as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you mentioned something there. I think it teaches kids to be responsible, that your daughter knows that during lunch she needs to go get help with this or go see this teacher or go make up this test. So it helps them to learn to be responsible too. So, and I think I speak for both schools. I'd like to invite any of you to come and visit during Smart Lunch. And if you really want to know about it, ask the kids. They'll tell you, like they said, they were lost at first, but I think they're getting into it now. So, and then I wanted to mention one more thing. Central Haywood High School, being a different concept, they have something called Smart Breakfast that they're trying. And you may have heard a little bit about this. They figured out that their kids were coming in at 8 o'clock and they were not going to eat breakfast. They were rolling in at, 1 minute till 8 and going straight to class, and they weren't eating breakfast. So they decided to delay breakfast till around 9 o'clock. So they go to class for the first block and then they have breakfast, and it has been phenomenal. And their attendance and breakfast has really gone up. And they do a similar concept during that breakfast period. So I just wanted to let you know about
Only problem with that would be I would eat breakfast at 7, then again at 9.
Me too. I'm with you.
I like that. Thank you so much for the information. When we were presented this information earlier, you wonder that how is it going to work? And it sounds like it's off to a good start. So thank you very much, everyone that's been involved in that.
We're excited about it, and they're doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. All right. Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Kyle Edford and Dr. Nolte.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk to you, make an announcement that we got some good news for you tonight. If you'll take a look at your screens, I'm going to talk to you about the Alternative Learning Center, the Gateway Recovery Program, which was established in August of 2007. At that point in time, 2007, that's what our dropouts looked like in Haywood County. There was 187 of them, and that the corresponding dropout rate was 7.8%, which was the 5th highest in the state of North Carolina. And I'm happy to report that the DPI just released their figures for school year 2013, which again is our latest. And through the efforts of the principals of the schools, the administration, our whole team, we have turned that into 0.08%. From 187 to 35. So that's what we look like now. But again, it's been an effort by everyone, and I like to say that we've flown the plane. We've built it as we flew it along a little bit because we hit the ground running. And so to sort of segue to that, we're going to continue to run. We've had a lot of help out of these people since 2008. Those are our partners that we've been able to secure funding from that has leveraged what we've had in the county to the tune of $1,434,000 since 2008. We've received that in grant funds. Now, we have written and received a $1.4 million 21st Century Learning Community Grant, which will be for the next 4 years. And if, I struggle, I was thinking, how am I going to explain this? Well, pretty much it's going to be a 31.5 hour a week smart lunch based on what they were just talking about. It's those types of things that we already do, but we're going to expand the hours of operation. We're going to offer enrichment activities for students and for parents. We're going to engage parents in the community in Haywood County Schools. I think the thing that I wrote in the grant was, when I was a kid growing up in Haywood County, going to Hazelwood Elementary, the school was the center of the community, and that's what we want to be again. We're going to try very, very hard to do that. In order for that to happen, one of the things that the grant is going to ask us to do is change our name. We want your permission, consideration, changing our name from the Alternative Learning Center to the Haywood Community Learning Center. And we'll be, hopefully, our budget will be released and we'll be almost up and running November 1st. I don't have anything to add. We have a packed agenda, but the main thing that I just wanted to repeat is the acceptance of the grant will require us to change the name of the program. It's not a building name, it's a name of the program. And we'd certainly like to do that, so we're comfortable receiving the $1.4 million, and then that program name would stay with that program wherever it happened to be located in the future.
First of all, congratulations on the award of the grant. I know that was not a simple process. It's very involved, I know, and the success of the program is evident by the numbers that we've seen. I assume that we need to make a motion to change that name, or would...
My best understanding is that does not require action from the board, but we would love it if we could get it.
Well, why don't we... I'll make a motion. Okay, we have a motion. You want a second? I have a motion from Mr. Leatherwood and a second from Mr. Francis. Even though this might be just for information, I think we need to have a stamp of approval from the board. I think it would show support to the program. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Now we'll discuss anything.
I'd just like to ask, your hours of expanded operations, sir, explain what your normal hours was before and what you're going to now.
Right, and 90% of the grant must be spent outside of the regular school day, so 90% of those funds will be expanded hours, and I'll let Kyle talk about that. From the perspective of when you open the door and when you close, it will be about 7:45 in the morning to about 8 at night. And during those times, there'll be designated times, designated ALP, alternative placement, where you play school like we play school. Then the other times during those days will be designated as 21st century learning activities, which is largely enrichment activities. Now, it's sort of kind of hard to jumble in your head a little bit, but we've designated activities and times for play in school and for doing enrichment activities. Those two things can't cross. And so plus our building, we've grown out of our building. And so we have to be very creative in the scheduling. So it's going to require us to go from 8 to 8.
Any other questions? Comments? There being none, we'll vote on the motion on the floor, though. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kyle.
Ms. Moody, has anyone signed up to address the board? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, I've already jumped ahead of myself. I'm trying to get through the agenda as quick as possible. Dr. Nolte, we got some good news we need to talk about.
Yes, we do, and I apologize for taking a few minutes, but from my perspective, at least with my job description, this is why we're here. We do many things. We're nurses sometimes, social workers, we have law enforcement officials, but really our bottom line is we're preparing students for higher education and for work. And so student performance is very important to us. I released a basic press release, I think on September the 9th or 10th. The state released general information for each school district. And that looked really, really good to us, but there was no way for us to really compare ourselves to like schools or other districts, and we like to do a very deep analysis. You all have seen that through the years with the kind of information that we share, and then we're very redundant in taking that information to each school each semester in what we call an external review visit. The first document, and I'll spend as much time as you'd like on these, but again, given the late hour, I'll also go quickly and you can just stop me or ask me questions at the end. The first document, we produced a similar document last year, for lack of a better word. I was doing a podcast this morning with Todd Trantham, and he reminded me that this is really a gap analysis. This shows you where you are and where you should be. So literally across the top, we have every assessment that our schools are measured by in terms of our overall performance. ACT, work keys, math rigor, which is not really an assessment, it's the number of students taking and passing Math 3, our graduation rate, 4-year rate, the performance composite, which is the PC, and then the performance composite career ready and college ready. Those two columns, those two first green columns, I'm not saying these columns are weighted, but if you really thought about it, those are probably more important because those are aggregates of all the assessments that that school put together. So when you're really looking at how is a school or a system doing, you look at that performance composite and did the school make growth. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. Math 1, biology, English 2, Math 3 through 8, reading 3 through 8, and then 5th grade science and 8th grade science. Those are the assessments. The NC, can you go back? Thank you. I don't know. Oh, yours didn't stay on one piece of paper. I'm sorry. It wrapped. But I can give you one all on one sheet if you need it. The first line is the North Carolina performance in that area. And then I shaded the little cell green if we were above that. Not if we were tied with it, but if we were above it. We don't think it's okay to be at the state average or below. So our gaps are the little white cells. And as you can see, we don't have a lot of those. We have 1 or 2 scattered in elementary and middle. Those are pretty sparse, and that will allow us to really direct our intervention activities to specific subjects or methodologies or teachers. And again, we won't talk about those details at this meeting, but our focus will be very directed. And at the high school level, we've got a few more gaps, but again, our focus will be very direct there, and we'll know what to work on. Any questions about any of those categories? We know that certainly we have some work to do at our traditional high schools. We would like for those to be a little higher. We know we have some work to do in biology, and probably with the math rigor, which is again is not a score, but we need more students taking higher level math courses, and we are fast at work on accomplishing that. Any questions about that gap analysis page?
The next time, Mr. Dr. Nolte, the educators understand CGRS 4.
CGRS is the graduation rate for the 4-year cohort.
Right.
There is a 5-year cohort. That means you graduate them in 5 years. I didn't put that on here. It's always higher. And it might feel good to say we finished them in 5 years, but basically the 4-year cohort is the measure. We're above that everywhere except Central Haywood High School, and theirs is crazy high for an alternative high school. They're at 81%, a lot of credit there to their staff and their students, but also a good bit of credit there to what we've been able to do at the new Community Learning Center, what we call the Alternative Learning Center. And then the graduation rate at the early college is not as high as we would like it to be. And that's because we, in all honesty, did not pick students as well as we should have when we first started that school. We're much better at picking them now. We picked with our heart very early on rather than with our logical thinking. But that's the graduation rate.
What I was asking you was I'd like a
key.
A key.
A key?
Yes, sir.
I'll email you guys a key.
Would you please?
I'll do it. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I can figure all this out on my own, but I'd like to.
I'll email you a key tomorrow.
When you start doing PCCCR,
Oh, I
have a hard
know.
time putting all that together.
I know. That means even in third grade math, for example, or even in third grade, even at Bethel Elementary School, because those students scored, I'm taking way too much time, but since you ask, it's a really good question, let me answer it. For years and years and years, if you made a 3 or a 4 on the test, then you passed it, and that was the performance composite. What North Carolina decided to do this year, and I think it's a good idea, really, don't always agree with what the state does, but what they wanted to say is, let's also give you a more rigorous measure of the students that we think are on track for college, and so those are students that made 4s and 5s. The state added a level 5 on test, and those are students who are really answering a tremendous percentage of the items on the test. So that PCC R, that big long one there, that's the percentage of students that the state believes are on track for to be college ready.
College ready. Okay.
And that's new. That's a new measure. But I will send you a key. Any other questions about that particular page? All right, great. The next sheet is growth. And I spent a long time last year, but it's been a year, with bell-shaped curves and standard deviations of 1 and 2 and all that other kind of stuff, trying to talk about growth. The most important thing to remember about growth, the way it's measured now, is that this is an adult impact measure. What the state does is it takes similar students with similar academic performance histories and groups them in groups of thousands, literally thousands. And then if I and someone else were teaching students in that same group, we could see how far I moved the student compared to that other teacher. And that may not be a fair measure, but it's an accurate measure. To be honest with you, I think it's really pretty fair. And then they aggregate all the students at the school to see if the school moved all the students on average a year, or more than a year is exceeds. So that's an adult impact measure. I don't like to say this a lot because when you say 100%, people's eyes gloss over and they go, well, you can't be 100% at anything. But we really probably should have 100% of our schools making growth, okay? We may have one teacher at a school that maybe doesn't in one subject area, but you've got 2 others that do, or maybe 2 others that exceed, and that would counterbalance that. And we think we're well on the way to do that. We had 5 schools last year that did not make growth, and this year it's 3. Haywood barely missed it, by a couple tenths. Pisgah also missed it, and Tuscola's growth measure was pretty large last year, and they cut that in half. So we think we're well on the way to having, if not all of our schools make growth as a school, than most of them. We feel pretty good about that. The state in North Carolina, 74.61% of 3/4 of the schools made growth. So if 3/4 of the schools in the state can do that, we should be able to get to 100 someday. And we were at 81.25. So we feel pretty good about that. The schools that did not make growth will produce a plan of action for us. We go out to each school each semester and have a conversation with them about academic performance. When we go to the 3 schools that didn't make it, we'll be talking to them about growth and then asking them at that time to prepare a growth plan of action for us. And those plans were pretty successful last year because we had several schools that didn't make it that turned around and did. And again, Tuscola didn't make it 2 years in a row, but they significantly reduced by half their growth differential. So any questions about growth? All right, great. I know it's getting late. The state changed on the next slide. The state changed the state's required measure of college readiness, or the one that the state looked at to measure college readiness, from the SAT to the ACT a couple years ago. And Dr. Douglas gave a presentation last month and talked a little bit about that. There are 8 states, Dr. Douglas, in the nation that give that test to every student in a particular grade. And so North Carolina is one of 8 states that gives that test to every student. And you get a raw score, 16 point something, 17, 18, 19. You get a raw score for each student. But then you also have what the state calls as the ACT benchmark. And this is really good news for us. I mean, this is one of those things that you celebrate. The minimum ACT score to enter the North Carolina university system is 17. That's the minimum, and it won't get you in every school, but it will get you in a university system school. 67.3% of our juniors last year, now seniors this year, have an ACT score that will get them into a university system school. That is a significant improvement over what we've had in the past. We think that can be higher too, in particular if we do a little better with biology and math, some of those scores, but we're real pleased with that. When you rank the 115 school districts in the state from highest to lowest, and you remember last year I gave you all these sheets and I literally had all 115 of them there. I thought that was not real nice to the people toward the bottom. So I'm just getting it, it's not our job to put other people down, but just to look at where we are and improve. So I put the top 20 on there in terms of ACT benchmark, and you can see those. And those are really good school districts, and we're pleased to be among them on that measure. Any questions about that?
At somebody's convenience, could we get the number of students? Because I'd like to see comparison, the number of students in Haywood County as size-wise as compared to one of these other counties. Fewer students taking it as opposed to more students can actually affect your raw score.
Well, it can, but on this particular test, I think that really, your thinking really would apply to the SAT, where students can opt to take it or not opt to take it. And we still have almost 50%, 46, do you remember, Dr. Douglas? 46 or 48%, don't hold me to that, I'll look it up, of our students still take the SAT because they may be going to school in another state that prefers the SAT over the ACT. With the ACT, that really is every junior, with the exception of some students who may be severely and profoundly handicapped. I mean, and they take an alternative test, but all except maybe 1 or 2% of our students take the ACT. So even if we're looking at a larger district like Chapel Hill, Carrboro, we can safely say that all of their juniors, with a few exceptions, took the ACT, and you can also say that all of our juniors took that same test.
If you look at those systems that are ahead of us, I don't like to ever say somebody beat us, but those systems are known across the state as being some of the top notch, as well as we should be. I mean, Chapel Hill, Carrboro schools have always been near the top, but you look at some of the ones that we're in a good group there is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we're pleased. We're not satisfied. I don't know that my family would tell you I'm probably never satisfied, but we're pretty pleased with that. We think we can do better, certainly, and those are good districts. And we've passed some folks that we were behind, and we intend to keep working really, really hard to increase the number of students who are college ready based upon the ACT as well as other measures. Okay. Any questions about ACT? All right, very good. The next sheet is the LEA Performance Composite. And again, I didn't list all 115 school systems again because I think people have a tendency to run down to the bottom and look at number 103 and go, ooh. And that's not what we're about. You know, that's not what we're about. We're looking at where we are currently and what we can do to improve. This is the performance composite of all 115 school districts. Last year we were 17th. This year we're 15th, based purely upon the performance composite. And as I said earlier, that's an aggregation, or you put all the test scores together from all the schools in the district to get that particular score. And we're pleased with that. I can safely say this is the first time that I'm aware of that we outperformed 100 of the other school districts in the state, and that there are 100 other districts that would like to have our performance composite. Sure. There are but there are 14 that don't want ours, and they want theirs. And we have visited with some of them recently. We do a good job of going to visit with people who are doing well in a particular area, and they come and see us. So we'll just see if we can't make that one a little higher too. It's hard to move when you're performing that well, but we fully intend to and think we can if we can turn some of those little white cells into green cells on the first sheet. And then very quickly, I know it's getting late, but just some highlights. I know if you, one of the things I like to do on Sunday is I can't watch all the football games, but I like to turn it on Sports Center and just watch the 5-minute highlights, right? And you get all the last-minute field goals and touchdowns and interceptions and all that stuff from across all the games. So just some highlights, and Dr. Garrett has mentioned some of this previously in her goal report. In North Carolina, 74.61% of the schools met or exceeded growth, and we're at 81.25. Again, I do think that could be 100, not for every individual teacher, but I think for all schools, I think we can get there. Among the 115 school districts, we're now 15th, just mentioned that, and 17th in the ACT benchmark performance. This year, and our middle schools have typically not done as well as our middles and highs, but that is no longer true. And this year, our middle school performance is the highest that I can remember, okay? When you rank the 281 6-8 schools in the state based upon their performance composite, Bethel Middle ranked in the top 18%, and Canton Middle and Waynesville Middle, which are 1/10 of a point apart, ranked in the top 24%. So they're all in the top quartile. Now, we'd like them to all be in the top 20 or 15%, but we're pleased with the growth that they have made. And then our elementary schools have always done, not always, they've done really well the last 5 or 6 years. And when you rank the 816 pre-K-5 or kindergarten through 5th grade Title I schools, or 816 of those in the state. And first of all, I ranked them by growth, because if 3/4 of the schools in the state can make growth, we really shouldn't call you up there unless you can make growth. So I sorted out the ones that didn't make growth, and I was left with about 640 schools out of that 812 that made academic growth. Their teachers were able to move them a year or more. When you rank them by the performance composite, Riverbend was first. Okay, there was one school that had a higher performance composite, but they did not make growth. So they were first in that group. Junaluska, I think, was 13th in the top 1% out of that 816 schools making growth. And then Bethel and Jonathan Valley were in the top 5%, and then the rest of our schools were in the top 20%. I think we had one school that was like 20.3 or something. So as a whole, just really high-performing schools. And that, what we've had in previous years is we've had about half of them in that range. and now they're all there. So we're real pleased with what they've been able to do. Thank you, sir. Any questions? I certainly can answer them now or send people information.
Any questions, anyone? Just great work. Our schools are to be congratulated. Our teachers, our whole staff, administrators, all the way up, all the way from the bottom up.
Yeah. I wanted to thank Dr. Garrett and you all for recognizing C&I. We usually work in the shadows and not on very sexy topics, but we do appreciate the recognition because we do think it's the most important thing that we do.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Moody, did anyone sign up for open session? Okay. At this time, I've been asked, and I need to also, we need to take about a 2-minute recess. We're going to recess for about 2 minutes. Call the meeting back to order. Ms. Moody, did anyone sign up to address the board during open session tonight?
No, sir, no one.
Thank you very much. Board members, you've had an opportunity to read the minutes from the closing regular session from our September 8, 2014. At this time, I'll entertain a motion that they be approved as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Francis, second by Mr. Henson, to approve the minutes from September 8th. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Ron Moss.
Chairman Francis, Board, Dr. Garrett, Dr. Nolte, you have before you for your approval a pre-K contract. The NC provider contract is a contract we normally sign each year with the Division of Child Development and Early Education that outlines our responsibilities as the provider for the NC pre-K. And it also guarantees our funding from the state for the pre-K program. So we're asking that you approve that.
Okay. So move. This time I'll entertain a motion that we already have from Mr. Kirkpatrick. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Ms. Milner. I think she beats you just a little bit. Mr. Smathers, have you had a chance to look at this contract?
Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Yeah,
Everything looks A-okay with the contract.
Contract.
I mean, he looked at it last year, I'm sure.
I know it's a boilerplate.
I did. I looked at it this afternoon.
Oh.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion from Mr. Kirkpatrick, second Ms. Milner. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. All right, on our agenda next, and I scroll down to it, we have Dr. Ann Garrett with our School Advisory Council recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as per CR 1 Advisory Councils and General Statute 115C-55, I'd like for you to approve the school advisory councils as presented.
So move.
We have a motion from Mr. Kirkpatrick. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Ms. Shandel got you that time. We have a motion from Mr. Kirkpatrick, seconded by Ms. Shandel, to approve the school advisory councils. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Garrett. Okay. Next, we have on our agenda Mr. Todd Trantham for another contract opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you'll turn your attention to item number 20 on the agenda, it is a service agreement with Toshiba. Toshiba is one of the vendors that we use for copier contracts. What we're doing tonight is taking the 12 schools that already have contracts with Toshiba and consolidating them into one contract. It's going to lower the cost at one of our sites from 1.89 cents down to 1.29 cents. but it's also going to give us the same expiration date in 2017 for all of these, and it's going to give us the ability to ride other schools onto this contract as their current leases expire.
I've often wondered why we didn't do this a long time ago. You know, because I know that a lot of the site-based managers had gone on their own to do that.
And what this is going to allow us to do is leverage our economy of scale and get a better price for our per paper cost for printing.
Okay. This time I'll entertain a motion that we approve the
So
Toshiba
moved.
contract.
I move we approve.
Okay, Ms. Milner's made the motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Kirkpatrick. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor?
Am I reading that correctly? 1.5 million copies.
Yeah, but that is nowhere close to what we'll actually make. As a district, we'll make about 16 million copies in a year.
Because that was quarterly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is an estimate based on just what the original number of Toshiba schools were making. But if you take our actual number of copies as a district, we will make somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 16 million copies in an annual cycle as a district. And that's all of our printers, all of our copiers, all at one time.
And I'm assuming this contract picks up ink and all that, or is that a separate?
This contract does not cover paper, but it does cover the maintenance cost on those copiers, as well as the ink, the toner that would go into them.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. Thank you. That's
Very good.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Trantham. Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Hines.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you can turn your attention to item 21. This is the beginning teacher support plan for Haywood County Schools as required by the Department of Public Instruction. This deals with teachers in the first 3 years of their career, BTs 1, 2s, and 3s, and it outlines the support that we will give them in the form of mentors and staff development. This, if you approve it, it must be submitted to the state board as well.
Okay. This time I'll entertain a motion that we approve the beginning teacher plan as presented.
Motion.
We have a motion from Mr. Henson. I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Milner. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you could turn your attention to item 22, the Title II application. This is a federal grant application for improving teacher quality. This allows us to pay for the BT program that you just approved. This year it's $293,000. With the rollover from last year, takes us to a little over $500,000 that we can use for beginning teachers and for staff development for more veteran teachers as well. It has to be ongoing, sustainable staff development.
Okay.
In this application, you should have copies of the full application. If you would approve that, I would appreciate it, sir.
All right.
So move.
We have a motion from Mr. Kirkpatrick to approve the Title II application as presented. Do I hear a second? Second, Ms. Shandable. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor?
Yes. Mr. Hines, explain the rollover. How do we get to hold on to anything anymore without somebody taking it away from us?
Well, this is one of the few programs, it's a federal program, and they allow you to keep what you don't spend within reason. Now the next year you've got to account for that and how you're going to spend it, but you can roll it from year to year.
Okay, sir. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you,
Good
Mr. Chair.
answer. Thank you. It's a good question.
Yeah, it's amazing, but
Are they a trick?
I was wondering if you had pulled a rabbit out he had or something on us over there. Okay.
no tricks.
What does the fine print say? Any other questions or discussion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hines. Board members, next on our agenda at our North Carolina School Board Association meeting this year, we will be voting on our next year's agenda items, what we'll be supporting as an organization. And as such, we will be eligible to send, my understanding is 4 voting delegates to that. And at this time, I'd ask for people that would volunteer to be voting delegates for the general delegate assembly down in Greensboro this upcoming annual convention.
I will.
All right. 1, 2, 3. I can serve this year if we don't have anybody else that wants to do it. All right, so we got Ms. Shandable, Mr. Francis, and Ms. Milner. Just want to wait and see what happens. Okay. At this time, we entertain a motion that those that volunteered, raise your hand if you volunteered. Okay.
Oh, well, I will, depending on.
Okay, you can be an alternate.
Yeah, depending on the outcome.
All right,
I know
so we got, all right, the folks that are volunteering are Ms. Milner, Mr. Francis, Ms. Shandable. And somebody needs to make a motion.
So I make a motion, we approve the 4-3, was you the fourth? The 4 that has raised their hand for the delegates.
Okay, and
I'll
that was-
second that one.
Okay, and we have a second on the motion, and Mr. Henson has volunteered to be an alternate,
Okay.
which is not a bad idea. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And we can vote for it. Yes, we can.
Well, if you don't, we're gonna have a tough time making this happen, okay?
Might come out 2-2 vote there.
I think it was unanimous. Those opposed? Okay. Motion carries unanimously.
Oppose yourself.
Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Smathers on the Haywood daycare property.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, the county commissioners have declined to express any interest in the old Hazelwood School, that is the Southwestern Child Development Center, which the board declared surplus. They had the first offer. They have declined that. So it's now incumbent upon y'all to declare how you want to sell this property. You really have 3 options: advertisement for sealed bids, negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bid, or public auction. We discussed this in the Buildings and Grounds meeting, and I believe Mr. Leathers will make a motion for the negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bid, to the effect that we go with that process. There is an interested party, but should we not be able to enter in a contract with them, my suggestion would then be to hire a realtor in discretion of the administration to begin the process, try and find someone to buy that property.
I'd like to make a motion for the Buildings and Grounds that we do this.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Leatherwood and a second from Mr. Kirkpatrick that we go with the negotiated
offer, advertisement, and upset bid. And that process says if we enter in a contract to sell it, it has to be advertised, and anyone in the public can file an upset bid, and we continue the upset bid process till a price is achieved at.
Okay. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor?
Do we have a right to refuse?
Yes.
Yes.
The bids?
All offers at any time can be refused by the board.
Okay.
So, I mean, it can be, I've seen it go in a short period of time, and I've seen it drag out, depending on who all is interested and what how long someone wants to keep bidding.
Again,
Yes.
sir, since you've seen both, what is your recommendation on putting a time limit on the number of upset bids that you could have?
You really can't.
Okay, sir. Okay,
So
thank
once
you.
once that process starts, someone can file an upset bid. They have a limited number of days to come in, and you have to. I think it's there's a certain percentage you have to upset it by.
Okay,
So-
sir. Okay,
That
thank you.
actually would be an advantage to us.
That's
If we
right.
have an upset, because the higher it goes.
That's right. And as I said, at any time, if it gets to the final bid and you don't think that's a fair price for it, you can say, well, thanks for your interest, but we're not going to sell it at that.
And then we can drop back to plan.
You can drop back.
Okay. Very good questions and good answers. Any other questions or discussion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Board.
Smathers. Next on our agenda, we had another item from the Building and Grounds.
I've got 2 or 3.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Busy committee tonight.
Yeah. Todd has some surplus equipment that he wants to declare surplus. It'll be put into the school store, I understand, right, Todd? It's wireless access points and 2 controllers, and you'll have to ask him about if you want any description of this stuff, okay?
All right.
But the Building and Grounds would like to make a motion that we declare this surplus so we can dispose of it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Mr. Leatherwood and a second from Ms. Shandable. Is there any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
We have a request from the town of Clyde that we'd like to grant them easement to a sewer line. It's right outside the EC building here. It actually runs from across the road up here. They got to tie into a sewer line that's going down on the other side of our property. It won't actually be in the parking lot. It'll be on the edge of the parking lot. But it's actually giving them permission to access that sewer line going down there. And we'd like to make that in the form of a motion from the Building and Ground.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second, Ms. Shandable. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor?
I do have a question. Are they going to be coming through this parking lot over here? How are they going to access that?
It'll be coming on this side of the creek, and it'll be on the edge of the parking lot. It won't be in the parking lot.
Tearing up the new asphalt?
No, No, it's
When you say the side of the creek, you talking about that small creek or the Pigeon River?
I'm talking about the small creek
over
coming
there,
down
okay.
this way. It actually running from the fire department up there.
Okay.
Yeah, but also I think that motion hinged upon in the Building and Grounds that Mr. Smathers was also going to read and clarify
Yeah,
any
he's got
documents
to,
about tear-ups, fixes, repairs,
Right.
which is standard.
The town of Clyde presented a proposed easement agreement and the map this afternoon. We've looked at it, so it looks fine at this point in time, but I just need to look at it in a little more detail. And so I'd ask you that if you approve this, subject to me not finding any legal issues with the deed, but it's essentially a grant they're trying to get finished out to work on their sewer project here.
That's good clarification. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
I have one other thing. We have 3 trailers up at Tuscola that we need to discard of. We want to declare them surplus, and we'll try to get something out of them, but we probably won't. If we get somebody to pull them out of our farm, we'd be lucky. So we'd like to make this a form of a motion from a Building and Ground.
Okay, we have a motion to declare 3 trailers as surplus. And do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Francis. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries
I
unanimously.
got one other thing. I'd just like to personally thank Tracy Hargrove for the job he's done on this Pisgah project.
Yes.
They pretty much moved in now, and if you've not been over there, they've got a new traffic pattern and so forth for the buses, and he had a great deal to do with this, and I'd just like to thank him personally for what he's done.
Thank you. All right, anything else from Building and Grounds?
That's it.
Thank you for your hard work and dedication on the Building and Grounds Committee. It's a lot of things going on. Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Mark Shepard. They warned us this list was going to be long and feverish, didn't they?
Oh, Mr. Chair, I caught my second wind. I'd prefer Mr. Shepherd just to read each one of them out to us tonight. Okay.
In full detail.
I think we'll take a motion to not do
You're all right,
that.
Stephen. Oh, Stephen, you're all right, okay?
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, we don't want to belabor it, and we don't want to read every one of the policies, but we do have a few housekeeping items to cover in dealing with our choice to move forward with having the State School Board Association revise our policy manual. And it is going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be a long process, and it'll be a lot of reading for all of us each month for a while. But it really is a big improvement for our school system, something that's definitely needed, and something that I think people will look back on for a long time and be glad that we took the bold step and went ahead and did it. The first thing I want for you to say to you is that call me. Call me and email me anytime you have questions about this stuff. It is going to be a lot of reading and a lot to understand, and I'm not going to say I'll have all the answers, but the guys at the School Board Association, we've been assigned 2 attorneys, and they've just been super available to me so far. They respond to emails very quickly, phone calls if you want to do it that way, and I really think we're going to be getting our money's worth on the $22,000 and change that we spent on this, because they've already put a lot of legal hours into it. The other thing, for you tonight to look at really for a first reading is the 1000 series. And in doing that, we're starting down this road, and to make this work for the public and for all the people in our school system, we're going to have to do a couple of things. One thing is, next time when we come to meet, you'll be voting. Theoretically, you'll be voting on these policies to put them in place. So we will, in essence, be starting a second policy manual. So during this process, we'll have our old policy manual and the newly created policy manual, and we'll be working from both. And basically what a person will have to do is know that in order to find the most current language on the topic that they're looking for, they'll look in the new one first. If it's not there, they'll look in the old one. And basically, we have drafted a resolution for you guys, and this is School Board Association language. You can adopt this next time, and we'll place this on the website. When you go under our school website and click down School Board and Policies, you'll see this. Okay? So this will explain to anybody what's going on as they look and try to decipher which policy manual they'll need to be looking at. The other housekeeping item that will help you guys and everyone else in the public understand these policies is the correlation table. That's going to be very key for you guys, because it gives you the new policy number, the name of it, the correlating policy that we have in place right now, so you'll know what is this talking about. But more and most importantly, it gives notes as to what we're looking for as changes and what we're doing now to what we'll be doing in this new policy. And sometimes it's very straightforward. It's just, putting legal things in place. But sometimes it's a pretty different practice than what we've had. So you'll definitely want to be reading these notes and the correlation charts. We'll also post a copy of this on our school board website. Okay? I did want to tell you, too, that besides the 1000 policies, there was a couple other policies that we needed to get in place with this first reading of the new policies. The first one is number 5024, and that is because this is about EpiPens in the schools, and that legally takes place November 1st. So even though we may not be just exactly ready to get this going, we'll go ahead and have this down for first reading, and we can look at it next time to get voted on. We have to, look at the language, be ready to get a physician to write our prescription for these, have our people in the schools trained to use these things, because just anybody can't use them. They have to be trained personnel. So we do want to have it for first reading this time, and you can have it there to read and ask questions if you want to. The second one is 6230, school meals regulations, and basically this is the smart snack federal regulations that have come down from Washington, and how they affect our schools and what snacks we can serve, what we can sell, and even what competitors can sell and when they can sell them in the schools. And I've worked with Allison on this, Allison Francis, and she says we're already completely compliant with this. So she's 100% comfortable with that. I've also worked with our nursing staff on the 5024, and they feel confident that we won't have any trouble getting this one in place as well. So those are there for first reading as well. The other one that I have for you is the 3420. And the reason we need to get the 3420 in place is because it's also becoming legal this year that a student can earn credit by demonstrated mastery. And that's a very different concept, as in you're not just earning a credit. You can go in and say, okay, I already know how to do this algebra, and you can take a test, you can demonstrate your mastery, earn your credit, and move on to the next class. And it is contained, that language is contained in this School Board Association Policy 3420. Okay, so we'll also have that one in place and be current on that one as well.
If I could, where that has been piloted, that is much harder than it sounds, because they're taking the final exam before they take the course, and the pass rate is not very high. So while it's there, I don't want to get a lot of hopes up among people.
I'd take a shot at it.
Well, I think it's, I mean, how many people are we expecting to try to take that and do that?
Statewide, they have tested over 100, and I believe 20-something have passed.
Did you say statewide, 100, and there was only 20 passed?
It's pretty hard.
Sounds tough.
Now, I'm like,
Okay.
Mr. Francis, I tried.
If it's multiple choice, it might, you know,
C.
Anything else, Mr. Shepherd, on?
Just one more little item. As we go through these new policies, they are going to reveal what would appear to be inconsistencies in our policies between the new policies and the old. And this 3420 is one of them. It gives parents the rights to opt out of corporal punishment. Okay? And if you go on our website and click on our public information, you know, our public notices part, it already says we don't use corporal punishment. If you go under our SA1, Student Conduct and Discipline Policy, it explains how you can use corporal punishment. And like I was saying, these attorneys that work for the School Boards Association are very thorough. And they combed through not only our website, but our policies and found those two inconsistencies. And this was one that they urged us to take care of immediately. And basically what that would do would be for us to go ahead and look at our SA1 and take out the language that allows corporal punishment and replace it with just a paragraph that says we don't use it anymore.
We haven't used it in the last 8 to 9 years.
And in order to use it, what you have to do is send a letter home. There it is, you can read it. A letter home at the beginning of the year to every child, whether they would use it or not. You have to do that. And then if there's a point in time during the year that it came up, then you would go and see whether or not that parent said it was okay. And the last year we used it, which was a long time ago, Dr. Garrett pointed out, I think it was used 8 times out of, 75 or 7,600 students. And so that's why we haven't used it, because in order to use it, I'll just pick a school at one of our high schools with 1,000 students. You'd have to send 1,000 letters home at the beginning of the year to say, can we use corporal punishment on your child? When in reality, you might not use it even if you got letters back saying you could. So that's why it's not been done.
You talking about tabling this for 30 days?
SA1, tabling SA1 with this change made to it.
I think
and I
that's
promise,
a good idea to table it.
I wasn't trying to fish around and find more for us to do, but on their notes and.
If they'd asked me that, I'd have told them that was inconsistent. I knew that. Yeah. We wrestled with this 10 years ago.
Yeah. And there'll be times when we come up against this, and we'll go ahead and address it when it comes up.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right. 30 days.
What about in the notes for consideration? I see like 1,200, 1,300. Instead of adopting this policy right now, we recommend you wait
I'm glad you asked.
and have adopted all the other policies in the manual before adopting this one. Are we going to go ahead and adopt that one?
If you look at policy number 1100, we are going to go ahead and it's up for you for first reading, called Governing Principles. It says this policy is optional. This one basically gives 7 different standards or principles that our entire policy manual will be guided by: student success, parental involvement, safe, orderly environment, school initiatives, professional development, removal of barriers, and stewardship of resources. And basically, this will be the mindset or the thought process that the rest of the policy manual is organized under, okay? If you get more specific than that, like 1,200 itself is student success. 1,300 is parental involvement. And if you go and look up one of those policies, which you can on the school board's policy manual, you'll find more, instead of any written language, you'll find referenced all the other policies in the manual that have to do with student success or parental involvement. So they're more of a bibliography for the entire policy manual. That being said, we don't have all those policies in place yet. So that'll be one of the last things we do. We'll put all these policies in place, and then we'll put those guiding principles, we'll slide those in there so people will know if I'm looking up parental involvement, you know, I'll look at 1,300 and I'll be able to see all the policies that relate to it.
1,100 we'll go forward with.
1,100 will go forward.
Generic in time. Okay.
Right.
I got you. Okay. These policies as presented tonight will be tabled for 30 days for public input and for board time to really digest more of it. I mean, we had some time, but I'm going to need some more time to look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing I appreciate, sir, is your correlation table. That really helps summarize it.
Absolutely.
For me.
Me too.
I mean, I really appreciate that effort of doing that for us, because that gets to the why you're doing what you're doing.
It does.
So that I appreciate tremendously.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shepard.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have our Finance Chair, Mr. Francis, for all the monthly reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee has met and reviewed the October monthly financial reports. There was no irregularities found, so at this point in time, I would like to bring before the board a motion to approve the regular monthly financial reports for October.
Okay, we have a motion. I hear a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Henson. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Did you beat me? We'll have to rewind the tape, so who beat who. Okay, I'm sorry. I digress. Go ahead.
I've got two more items. I know we're sort of short on time here.
No, we'll take all the time it needs.
The next item, number 27, is the 2014-15 budget resolution. We finally got our budget from the state, so we can sort of see what that's going to do for us, and we've been able to revise the budget presented. And I want to give thanks to Mr. Phillips and Ms. Gardner and all the financial staff for their hard work in putting this together. And so at this time, I would like to bring before the board the resolution of the change of the budget.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Milner. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the last item we have, number 28, is the loan payment for the Pisgah addition. We've actually combined the year-end payment and I believe June of 15's payment together into the one, so we don't have to ask for it again. So this would be for the loan payment for December and June of next year of the Pisgah addition.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Francis from the Finance Committee. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Leatherwood. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
That's all we have from the Finance Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for the hard work of the Finance Committee and its members. Last item, I think the last item on our agenda tonight is our personnel from Dr. Ann Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your information, you have 8 separation from employments. You have 6 leave of absences. For your approval, you have 6 employments. You have 14 employee status changes, 1 leave of absence, 5 contracted services, 48 substitutes, 34 employee coaches, 8 non-employee coaches, and 11 volunteer coach services.
So move.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the personnel as presented by Mr. Kirkpatrick. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Henson. Any question or discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garrett. There being no further business to come before the board, meeting adjourned.